Hello, dear listener. Welcome to Calm Cloud Chronicles, where imagination drifts and stories unfold. Sit back, relax, and let the journey begin. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more soothing tales. The Gift of Wisdom, Athena's Olive Tree. Long ago, in an age when gods and mortals walked closer together, a new city arose in the rugged land of Attica. The gods of Olympus, watching from their lofty thrones, decided that this city deserved a divine protector, a deity to guide and bless its people. Both Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea, and Athena, the goddess of wisdom, strategy, and crafts, stepped forward. Zeus, king of the gods, declared a contest to decide who would claim the city. Each deity would offer a gift, and the people of Attica would choose the one they deemed most worthy. On a sunlit day, under a vast azure sky, the gods assembled on the rocky hilltop later known as the Acropolis. Poseidon, proud and commanding, struck the ground with his trident. The earth shuddered, and from the fissure burst forth a magnificent fountain of water. The people gasped at its beauty, but as they drew closer, they discovered the water was salty, as befitted the sea god's domain. While grand, it offered little practical use for their daily lives. Then Athena stepped forward. With calm grace, she knelt upon the rocky soil and pressed her hand to the ground. Where her fingers touched, a tiny green shoot appeared. Before the eyes of all assembled, the shoot grew, stretching skyward until it became a sturdy tree with silvery green leaves. The people watched in awe as Athena plucked an olive from its branches and explained her gift. This tree would provide food, oil to light their homes, wood for crafting, and shade for rest. It was a gift of prosperity and enduring peace. The citizens of Attica chose Athena's gift, and the city was named Athens in her honor. From that day forward, the olive tree became a sacred symbol of the goddess, a reminder of the wisdom and foresight that shaped the city's destiny. But the story does not end there. For centuries, the olive tree stood as a silent sentinel on the Acropolis, weathering storms, invasions, and the passage of countless generations. During the Persian Wars, when Athens was burned and its people fled, it is said that the sacred olive tree was reduced to ash. Yet within a single day, a new shoot emerged from its charred roots, a testament to the resilience of Athena's blessing. The olive tree's legacy spread far beyond Athens. Its branches became emblems of peace, woven into wreaths to crown victors and offered to end conflicts. Its oil illuminated temples, ensuring the god's eternal flame never dimmed. And its wood, sturdy yet supple, became the material of choice for artisans and heroes alike. As you walk among the olive groves of modern Athens, you can still feel the presence of Athena's gift, its roots not only deep in the earth, but woven into the spirit of the people. The whispers of the goddess linger in the rustling leaves, a reminder that true wisdom endures, nurtures, and thrives, even in the most rugged of lands. The contest between Poseidon and Athena was not merely a simple event, but a grand gathering of the gods, mortals, and the forces of nature themselves. Zeus summoned all Olympians to witness the momentous occasion. Hera, Demeter, and Apollo sat in council, their presence lending gravity to the event, while Artemis watched from the nearby grove, her silver arrows glinting in the sunlight. As Poseidon strode forward, his trident flashed with the power of the sea. The very ground seemed to tremble, and the salty spray of his gift filled the air with an intense vitality, a mark of his uncontested dominion over the waters. But Athena's arrival was different. She stepped forward with calm confidence, her eyes alight with the wisdom that only she could bear. When the olive tree sprang forth from the earth, there was a collective hush. Even the gods recognized the significance of her gift. It was not just practical, but symbolic, representing enduring prosperity, thoughtful foresight, and the harmony between human needs and nature's bounty. Once the city of Athens was named in her honor, the olive tree became the centerpiece of sacred rituals. The priestesses of Athena tended to the tree with great reverence, offering it libations of pure spring water and garlands of fresh flowers. On feast days, the people of Athens would gather around it to light lamps with oil pressed from its fruit, a gesture of thanks to the goddess. It is said that the flames of these lamps burned with a golden hue, brighter and warmer than any other light, as if touched by Athena's divine hand. The tale of the olive tree's miraculous regeneration after the Persian invasion carried profound weight for the people of Athens. When they returned to their ravaged city and saw the young shoot emerging from the roots of the sacred tree, they were filled with renewed hope. They interpreted it as Athena's unspoken promise: no matter the devastation, the spirit of Athens could not be extinguished. This story became a beacon of resilience for generations, passed down through songs, poetry, and oral tradition. Athena's olive tree became a gift that extended far beyond the city's borders. Olive oil from her sacred groves was sent as an offering to temples of Zeus and Apollo across Greece, solidifying her connection to the wider pantheon. At the Panathenaic Games, the victors were crowned with olive wreaths, their heads adorned with branches from trees said to be descendants of the original tree gifted by the goddess. Even today, in modern Athens, the descendants of Athena's olive tree continue to thrive. The ancient tree on the Acropolis, though no longer standing, has living offspring nurtured from its cuttings. They serve as a living reminder of Athena's blessings and the enduring wisdom of her gift. Visitors to Athens often pause to honor these trees, feeling the timeless connection to a goddess who favored wisdom, peace, and growth over brute force. In time, the olive tree became not just a symbol of Athena's gift, but also a focal point for mortal worship and devotion. The people of Athens believed that the tree could carry their prayers to the goddess herself. During times of drought, they would gather beneath its branches to offer olive oil and woven garlands, their hymns echoing through the sacred groves. It is said that when their prayers were particularly earnest, the tree would sway gently, even in a windless sky, a sign of Athena's acknowledgement. The elder philosopher might recount how the olive tree's oil was central to the rites of the Eleusinian mysteries, sacred ceremonies that promised initiates insight into the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. In these rituals, lamps fueled by olive oil were believed to guide the spirits of the living and the dead, their light a reflection of Athena's eternal wisdom. Through this connection, the olive tree bridged the world of the mortal and the divine, offering a glimpse into the profound mysteries of existence. Legends tell of the dryads, tree nymphs who resided within the sacred groves of Athens, protecting the olive trees with unyielding devotion. The elder may share a tale of one such nymph, Myrina, who defended Athena's olive grove from invaders. When her grove was threatened, she called upon the goddess, who sent a great owl to frighten the intruders. From that day on, the Athenians believed the call of an owl in the grove was a sign that Athena's nymphs were still watching over the trees. The olive groves surrounding Athens became a haven for philosophers seeking clarity and insight. The elder speaks of Socrates walking among the trees, his words inspired by the serenity they offered. "Wisdom grows like the olive," he once said, "deep-rooted, yet flexible, and enduring through the harshest conditions. The groves were not only a refuge for thinkers, but a living symbol of the intellectual and spiritual growth that Athena fostered. The elder might also reflect on how Athena's olive tree connects to the broader symbolism of trees in world mythology. From Yggdrasil, the world tree of Norse legend, to the sacred fig tree under which Buddha attained enlightenment, trees have always represented knowledge, life, and interconnectedness. Athena's olive tree stands among these great symbols, its branches reaching beyond Greece to inspire a universal reverence for nature's wisdom. In the quiet of the garden, the elder ponders what Athena might think of her olive tree today. Would she see in our struggles and triumphs the same resilience that her tree embodies? He muses. Perhaps the olive tree's lesson for the modern world is the need for balance between wisdom and action, tradition and progress, humanity and nature. The elder believes that as long as the olive tree stands, its roots in the soil and its branches stretching skyward, Athena's wisdom endures, guiding those who seek it. On the outskirts of ancient Athens, a grove of olive trees stood in serene splendor, their silver-green leaves shimmering under the dappled sunlight. This grove, sacred to Athena, was a sanctuary for those who sought the solace of thought, a place where the hum of the city faded, replaced by the whispers of the wind and the gentle rustling of branches. The air was rich with the faint aroma of earth and olives, a scent that seemed to cradle the mind and inspire clarity. It was here, in this tranquil enclave, that philosophers gathered. Beneath the spreading branches of the oldest olive tree, whose roots reached deep into the soil as if seeking the wisdom of Gaia herself, sat Socrates, the gadfly of Athens. His simple robes brushed against the dry earth as he leaned against the tree's sturdy trunk, the cool shade tempering the heat of the midday sun. Around him, a small group of students listened intently. They were seekers of truth, drawn to this grove not merely for its natural beauty, but for the profound discussions that unfolded here. Socrates, with his calm demeanor and piercing gaze, invited them to question everything, challenging their assumptions and guiding them toward deeper understanding. "Tell me," he said, his voice steady yet inviting, "what do you believe is the measure of a good life?" The students exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and contemplation. One young man, bold and eager, spoke first. "A good life, surely, is one filled with success and renown. To leave a legacy that endures beyond our years." Socrates smiled gently, his hand brushing the rough bark of the olive tree. "And yet," he replied, "this tree endures, not because it seeks renown, but because it grows in harmony with its nature. It takes from the earth what it needs and offers its fruit freely to those who tend to it. Can we not say that a good life, too, is one of balance and generosity?" Another student, a quiet woman with a thoughtful gaze, ventured her own answer. "A good life is one of knowledge and understanding, for it is through wisdom that we find our purpose." Socrates nodded, his eyes glinting with approval. "Ah, wisdom, Athena's greatest gift to mortals. And yet, tell me this, does wisdom come from seeking alone, or from sharing?" The students fell silent, their minds turning over the question like the smooth stones that lined the grove's paths. The olive trees seemed to lean closer, their branches swaying as if they, too, pondered the mysteries of existence. As the day wore on, the grove became a stage for dialogue, each question a thread weaving a tapestry of ideas and insights. Socrates likened the pursuit of wisdom to the growth of the olive tree, rooted in firm principles, yet always reaching outward, seeking the light. The grove itself seemed imbued with a quiet divinity, as though Athena watched from afar, smiling upon those who sought to honor her gift. It was said that the very leaves of the olive trees absorbed the echoes of their discussions, carrying their words to the goddess. In time, the grove became more than a refuge. It was a living temple of thought, where the seeds of philosophy were sown, watered by curiosity and nurtured by dialogue. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the grove in a golden glow, Socrates and his students rose to leave, their minds alight with new questions and revelations. The olive trees stood silently, bearing witness to their journey of thought, their roots anchoring them to the earth even as their branches reached for the heavens, a perfect reflection of the philosophical quest. Years after Socrates' walks among the olive trees, his student Plato would often return to this grove, seeking the echoes of his teacher's wisdom. For Plato, the grove became more than just a place of quiet reflection. It was a canvas upon which he painted his grand philosophical visions. Seated beneath the same ancient olive tree that shaded Socrates, Plato imagined the world of forms, an unseen realm of perfect ideals. As the sunlight filtered through the shimmering leaves, he likened the interplay of light and shadow to the duality of existence. He saw in the grove's natural harmony a reflection of his belief that true knowledge lay beyond the material world. It was here that Plato first envisioned the allegory of the cave, his famous metaphor for the journey from ignorance to enlightenment. The olive trees, with their steadfast roots in the earth and their branches reaching toward the sky, became for Plato a living embodiment of this ascent, rooted in the tangible world, but striving for higher truth. The tranquility of the grove provided the clarity he needed to articulate his theories, which would later form the cornerstone of Western philosophy. Plato's student, Aristotle, found inspiration in the same grove, but in a vastly different way. For Aristotle, the olive trees were not just symbols of divine wisdom, but subjects of inquiry. The grove became his living laboratory, where he observed the natural world and formulated his groundbreaking ideas. Walking among the trees, Aristotle marveled at the complexity of life. He studied the olive tree's resilience, how it thrived in poor soil and endured harsh climates, and saw in it a metaphor for adaptation and survival. These observations fueled his development of the concept of teleology, the idea that everything in nature has a purpose, an end toward which it strives. Aristotle's love of classification may have been born here as well. Under the shade of the olive trees, he began cataloguing the plants, animals, and phenomena he observed. He noted the unique characteristics of the olive tree, the way its leaves shimmered like silver in the light, the way its fruit nourished both body and soul, and used these details to build his understanding of the natural world. More than that, the grove inspired Aristotle's belief in the interconnectedness of all things. Standing among the trees, he saw how the roots intertwined beneath the soil, how the ecosystem thrived in delicate balance. This harmony became a foundation for his ethics, as he sought to understand how humans, too, could live in balance with one another and their environment. Through Plato and Aristotle, the olive grove became a wellspring of intellectual life. Plato's academy, which was situated not far from such groves, carried forward the tradition of open-air discussions, where the natural world provided both setting and inspiration. Aristotle's Lyceum, too, was located near olive groves, and his practice of walking while teaching, known as peripatetic philosophy, was perhaps shaped by his time in these sacred spaces. The grove's influence rippled outward, its lessons carried in the thoughts and writings of these thinkers, whose works continue to shape human understanding to this day. And perhaps, as the olive trees sway in the modern Athenian breeze, They carry with them faint whispers of the dialogues that once unfolded beneath their branches. Imagine Plato sitting alone in the grove, the leaves above him swaying gently, creating a rhythm that mirrors the flow of his thoughts. To Plato, this was no ordinary place. The grove itself felt like a boundary between the physical and the metaphysical, its tangible roots anchoring it to the world of sensory perception, its shimmering canopy whispering of a higher, unseeable realm of perfection. Plato reflected on the olive tree itself, the way each branch grew in perfect proportion, its fruit abundant yet never excessive. He began to see the olive tree as a model for the forms, the ideal archetypes of existence. He imagined the perfect olive tree existing in the unseen world of ideals, a tree untouched by decay, its symmetry flawless, its purpose eternal. The trees around him, beautiful as they were, became shadows of this perfect form, mere representations of the truth that lay beyond the grasp of mortal eyes. In this grove, Plato's contemplation deepened, and the grove took on the quality of his allegories. The shifting light and shadows reminded him of his concept of the cave, where mortals, bound by their limited perception, mistake shadows for reality. Just as the grove's shade offered both shelter and obscurity, he believed philosophy offered the means to step into the light of true understanding. It was here, perhaps, that Plato began to teach his students the importance of balance between the visible and the invisible, the temporal and the eternal. The grove became not just a refuge for thought, but a living metaphor for his philosophy, a place where the eternal truths of the forms could be glimpsed through the beauty of the natural world. For Aristotle, the olive grove was more than a tranquil refuge. It was a living embodiment of the interconnectedness of all things. Walking among the trees, the sunlight flickering through their leaves, he observed the delicate balance of nature. Bees hummed softly, drawn to the small white blossoms of the olive trees, while the rustling leaves above seemed to harmonize with the chirps of unseen birds. To Aristotle, the grove was not merely a collection of living things, but an intricate system in which every element played its part. Under the shade of these ancient trees, Aristotle often pondered his ideas of teleology, the purpose inherent in every living thing. He studied the olive tree itself, noting its ability to thrive in the harsh, rocky soil of Attica. Its fruit, small but plentiful, provided nourishment, oil, and wood, fulfilling a multitude of purposes. He marveled at how every part of the tree seemed designed to contribute to life's greater whole. For Aristotle, the olive tree was a symbol of nature's inherent order, a lesson that everything in existence, no matter how small or unassuming, had a role to play in the grand design of the world. Aristotle's habit of walking while teaching, what would become known as peripatetic philosophy, may have been inspired by his time in the olive grove. The natural rhythm of his steps mirrored the flow of his thoughts, and the grove became a place where questions could unfold as naturally as the growth of the trees around him. The paths between the olive trees became a stage for dialogue, where Aristotle encouraged his students to observe, question, and engage with the world. Under the sheltering canopy, Aristotle posed questions as timeless as the grove itself. What is the nature of happiness? What is the ultimate purpose of a human life? As he and his students walked, he gestured to the trees, the soil, the insects, using the grove as a living textbook. The olive grove, with its resilience and harmony, provided endless metaphors for his teachings. The olive tree thrives, he might say, because it fulfills its nature, just as we must fulfill ours to find happiness. The grove's ecosystem became Aristotle's laboratory. He observed how the olive tree's roots intertwined beneath the soil, sharing nutrients and supporting one another. He marveled at how the tree adapted to its environment, enduring heat, wind, and drought with quiet fortitude. These observations fed into his work on biology and natural sciences, laying the groundwork for his belief that studying nature was essential to understanding humanity itself. One day, Aristotle watched as a farmer harvested olives, carefully selecting only the ripest fruit while leaving the unready ones to grow. This simple act inspired his thoughts on ethics and virtue. Just as the olive must ripen to fulfill its purpose, he told his students, so too must a person cultivate their character over time. Virtue is not something we are born with. It is something we nurture, like these trees. Aristotle was captivated by the olive grove's balance, a microcosm of nature's harmony. He often used the grove as an example of his idea that happiness, or eudaimonia, comes from living a balanced life. Just as the olive tree provided for the people of Athens without depleting the soil, Aristotle taught that humans must live in harmony with their environment, contributing to society without overstepping their natural bounds. The grove also reinforced his belief in the golden mean, the idea that virtue lies between extremes. The olive tree, neither too wild to be cultivated nor too fragile to survive on its own, embodied this principle. It thrived because it found the perfect balance between nature's chaos and human care, a lesson Aristotle imparted to his students as they gathered beneath its branches. For Aristotle, the olive grove was more than a setting. It was a source of endless inspiration, a place where he could bring the abstract into the tangible. His teachings, shaped by the interplay of thought and nature within this sacred space, echoed far beyond the grove. Through his writings, Aristotle carried the wisdom of Athena's olive trees into the wider world, ensuring that their lessons, of purpose, balance, and resilience, would endure for generations to come. The olive grove was more than a sanctuary for Aristotle. It was a dynamic environment that mirrored the principles he sought to understand and teach. Walking under the shimmering canopy of silver-green leaves, Aristotle did not merely observe nature, he communed with it. The grove, alive with the whispers of the wind and the hum of cicadas, became a symphony of life that inspired his thinking about the natural world and humanity's place within it. He often paused to watch the interplay of light and shadow, the way the sunlight filtered through the branches, leaving dappled patterns on the ground. This shifting interplay resonated with Aristotle's belief in the interconnectedness of the physical and metaphysical worlds, the tangible and the abstract. The olive grove was not just a backdrop to his philosophical musings. It was an active participant, offering lessons in balance, adaptation, and purpose. Aristotle saw in the olive tree a perfect metaphor for the concept of virtue as he defined it, the golden mean, the balance between extremes. The olive tree, with its ability to thrive in poor soil and harsh conditions, was neither overly fragile nor excessively robust. It was precisely what it needed to be to endure and flourish. For Aristotle, this resilience reflected the importance of moderation in human life. Just as the olive tree provided its fruit and oil without depleting its surroundings, Aristotle believed that humans should contribute to society in ways that sustain balance and harmony. Beneath the olive tree, he taught his students that virtue was not a static state, but a dynamic process, requiring constant adjustment and self-awareness. Like the olive tree, he would say, we must adapt to the seasons of life, yet remain true to our nature. Aristotle's fascination with the grove extended beyond philosophy into the natural sciences. He meticulously observed the ecosystem of the olive grove, noting the symbiotic relationships between the trees, the soil, and the creatures that lived among them. The bees pollinating the blossoms, the birds nesting in the branches, and the ants scuttling across the roots, All these interactions fed into his study of biology. He marveled at the olive tree's ability to regenerate after being pruned or damaged, seeing in this resilience a reflection of the regenerative powers of life itself. These observations fueled his belief in the importance of empiricism, the idea that knowledge arises from direct observation and experience. The olive grove became, in Aristotle's mind, a microcosm of the natural world, a place where the fundamental principles of life could be seen, studied, and understood. As the years passed, Aristotle's practice of walking while teaching, the peripatetic method, became a hallmark of his philosophical school. The paths winding through the olive grove were ideal for this approach, their natural rhythm encouraging the flow of thought and dialogue. Aristotle believed that movement stimulated the mind, and the grove provided a perfect setting for these intellectual journeys. His students, following in his footsteps, carried notebooks and scrolls, jotting down their observations and reflections as they walked. The grove became a place of constant motion and exchange, where ideas were tested and refined in real time. This dynamic environment reflected Aristotle's belief that philosophy was not a solitary pursuit but a collaborative process, rooted in conversation and exploration. The olive grove also influenced Aristotle's ideas about ethics and politics. Watching the interconnected life of the grove, he saw a model for human society, a delicate balance in which every individual played a role. Just as the olive tree depended on the soil, the sunlight, and the rain to thrive, so too did human communities depend on mutual cooperation and support. Aristotle's vision of the polis, or city-state, was deeply informed by these observations. He believed that the well-being of society depended on the virtues of its citizens, much like the health of the grove relied on the care it received. The olive tree, steadfast and enduring, became a symbol of the civic virtues Aristotle sought to cultivate in his students and his city. The olive grove's influence on Aristotle extended far beyond his lifetime. His students, inspired by the lessons learned under its branches, carried his ideas into the wider world. The grove itself became a symbol of the enduring power of knowledge and the unbroken connection between humanity and nature. Even today, one can imagine the spirits of those ancient scholars lingering among the trees, their voices mingling with the rustling leaves. The olive grove remains a timeless testament to the wisdom of Athena and the transformative power of philosophy, a place where the roots of knowledge run deep, and its branches reach ever upward. The day was warm, the golden sun casting a gentle glow over the olive grove. Aristotle strolled along the winding paths, his students following in his wake. The air was alive with the hum of cicadas, and the earthy aroma of olives mingled with the faint scent of wild herbs. This was no ordinary walk. For Aristotle and his students, the act of walking was an invitation to think, to question, to debate. The students gathered under the shade of an ancient olive tree, its gnarled branches sprawling like the threads of thought that connected them all. Some sat cross-legged on the sun-dappled grass, while others leaned against the tree's sturdy trunk, their faces expectant. Scrolls of parchment and wax tablets lay in their laps, ready to capture the wisdom that would soon unfold. Aristotle paused, resting a hand on the rough bark of the tree. "Tell me," he began, his voice calm yet probing, "what is the ultimate purpose of life? What do we strive for, above all else?" A young student with a bright, eager expression spoke first. "Happiness," she said. "Is it not the pursuit of happiness that drives us all?" Aristotle nodded, his gaze warm but unyielding. Indeed, Happiness, or eudaimonia, as we call it, is the goal. But what does it mean to be happy? Is happiness merely pleasure, fleeting and shallow, like the sweetness of a ripe olive? Or is it something deeper? The students exchanged glances, their faces clouded with thought. A boy with an air of quiet determination raised his hand. Happiness must come from living a virtuous life, he said. From fulfilling our potential, as the olive tree fulfills its purpose by bearing fruit. Ah, Aristotle said, his eyes brightening. You have touched upon something profound. Virtue is indeed essential to happiness. But remember, virtue is not something given, it must be cultivated, like this tree. And it is not found in extremes but in the golden mean, the balance between deficiency and excess. Aristotle gestured to the grove around them. Observe the olive tree, he said. It thrives in rocky soil, surviving droughts and storms. Yet it does not take more than it needs. Its roots do not strip the earth bare, and its fruit is shared with the creatures that depend on it. In this, the olive tree shows us the importance of harmony between ourselves and the world around us. One student, a thoughtful youth with a furrowed brow, spoke hesitantly. But teacher, what of those who take too much or give too little? How can we live in harmony when others upset the balance? Aristotle smiled, his expression patient. The answer, my friend, lies in cultivating virtue within ourselves and inspiring it in others. Just as a healthy tree can rejuvenate a barren grove, so too can a virtuous person uplift those around them. Change begins with the self. As the discussion continued, the students began to see the grove itself as a living metaphor for Aristotle's teachings. The interwoven roots of the olive trees reminded them of the interconnectedness of all things, while the branches reaching for the sun symbolized the human quest for knowledge. The resilience of the trees, weathering harsh conditions yet enduring, became a model for the strength and adaptability required to live a virtuous life. One student, inspired by the discussion, turned to Aristotle. Teacher, she said, the olive tree teaches us balance and resilience, but what of its fruit? Does it not also show us that our lives must bear fruit, works and deeds that nourish others? Aristotle's face lit with approval. Precisely, he said. Just as the olive tree bears fruit that sustains life, so too must we contribute to the world. Knowledge, virtue, art, these are the fruits of a life well lived. And remember, the olive tree does not seek recognition for its gifts. It offers them freely, as we must offer the fruits of our labor. As the sun set, casting the grove in hues of gold and orange, Aristotle and his students lingered beneath the ancient tree. The air grew cooler, and the first stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky. One by one, the students shared their reflections. I never thought a tree could teach so much, one said, his voice tinged with wonder. I see now that wisdom is all around us, if we only take the time to look. Another student, gazing at the stars through the branches, added, and just as the stars guide us at night, so too can the lessons of the olive tree guide us in life. It reminds us to stay rooted yet reach for the heavens. Aristotle listened, his heart swelling with pride. These were not just his students, they were thinkers, seekers of truth, carriers of the wisdom that would one day shape the world. As the olive trees stood silent witness, the grove became more than a classroom. It became a sanctuary of thought, a place where the seeds of knowledge were planted and nurtured, destined to bear fruit for generations to come. And so, as the stars above the grove shone brighter, Aristotle and his students rose to leave. The olive trees, their branches swaying gently in the night breeze, seemed to bid them farewell, their silent wisdom carried by the rustling leaves. The grove stood still, a sanctuary of thought, its roots intertwined not only with the soil but with the legacy of the minds it had nurtured. This sacred space, where nature and philosophy embraced, would inspire generations yet to come. The lessons shared beneath the olive trees, in the tranquil shadows of Athena's enduring gift, would echo through the ages, a testament to the resilience of knowledge, the pursuit of virtue, and the unyielding quest for truth. And so, the grove remained, eternal, like wisdom itself, always waiting to guide those who sought its shelter. Thank you for being a part of Calm Cloud Chronicles. What kind of stories help you relax the most? Please let us know in comments below. If you enjoyed this story, let us know by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Until next time, stay peaceful and keep dreaming.